Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, The Croods. Eep, who is a girl who lives with her family in a cave. They're cave people. They're cavemen, basically. They live in their cave, and the one rule is to always be afraid and not be very curious because you will die. And all the families around them have died, so they are the last ones left, and they're very cautious, especially their dad, Grug, who is the main protector and hunter, until one day when Eep becomes especially curious and sick of always being in the cave. Finds this cave guy named Guy who has fire and is kind of an inventor, and then their cave gets destroyed by an avalanche, and the family has no choice but to go with Guy and let Guy be their leader instead of Grug, and go on an adventure that takes them away from the cave and see this magical prehistoric world with many cool looking prehistoric animals. This is co-directed by Chris Saunders. He's kind of a favorite of mine personally because he helped direct Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. He's actually the voice of Stitch as well. This is his first film not working with Dean DeBalis, who he directed Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon with. This time he worked with Kirk D'Amico, I think that's how you say his name. It's not really like what I like about his other movies with his other directing partner, because in those films, most Hollywood movies are 3-act, but it's very rare that I find a filmmaker who can really do a 3-act film really well and make me believe in 3-act. And at the end, in Lilo and Stitch and in How to Train Your Dragon, it's like this big emotional, the stakes seem really high, kind of big, hyper amazing ending, and you're like, oh my god, 3-act works, and it always feels organic in those two films. And in this film, it doesn't really feel as organic at all. It feels like a normal 3-act movie, which I kind of didn't like as much. I'm normally very passionate about Chris Saunders' other two films, like How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. I mean, it's almost like I don't think of them critically. I just like kind of fall in love with them. I just personally really like them. And this film, because it has such a weak rush to the third act, like most 3-act films do, and Grug and Guy have kind of this emotional moment in Tar, which just felt really forced and out of nowhere. The film didn't feel like it was organically moving to a third act. It felt like it was kind of just shoving itself into it and hoping we'll keep up. I didn't feel like it was really as well written. Maybe that's because his co-director wasn't there this time. Maybe that's part of it. This film was developed at Aardman originally when it was with DreamWorks. John Cleese actually was helping write the story at one point when it was at Aardman, but it doesn't feel very Aardman-y. It feels more like a Chris Saunders film because it borrows so much from like Lilo and Stitch with the little sister and How to Train Your Dragon in certain points, especially the very end. It's like exactly the ending almost. One thing I do like about Chris Saunders' other film, How to Train Your Dragon, is it is one of the best films I've ever seen in 3D. The way he used the camera in that, especially at the beginning with like this long tracking shot where he's introducing everything, that was just an amazing sequence. And there's a lot of amazing sequences, especially the flight is amazing in 3D. And The Croods is actually fairly well made. The way they use the camera is far more creative than the actual plot. There's one sequence at the beginning where the Crood family is trying to get breakfast and the camera is going all over the place and it's in 3D, and it's just a really thrilling sequence. I don't think there was a sequence half as good in the rest of the movie, seeing what the trouble they go to and them all working together to get their breakfast. I mean, it was an important plot point, but it was also a great sequence, especially in 3D. And there's a lot of sequences, even though I'd seen them in the trailer and I think I'd seen them in 3D with other movies, they really dazzled. More so when I saw it, you know, within the film. Like there's a part where Guy takes them to the top of the trees, he has his fire on and it's night, and he blows out the fire and we can suddenly see the stars, and that looked like very beautiful. And there's a lot of scenes where it looked like far more amazing than it was written. I enjoyed it as a cinematic experience, and I definitely kind of recommend the 3D if you're going to see it, because it was pretty good 3D. I don't usually see 3D this good in whether it's live action and animation. It was a fairly good 3D film. The character designs of all the prehistoric animals, there's like kind of a fun imaginative feel to all of that, because either they make like little mice, elephant creatures, or like small little mice, the cat that's following them that's different colors. It looks like kind of like a weird kind of Chuck Jones creation. Like they really had fun with the character design of the prehistoric animals, and that added a kind of a sense of wonder. You never knew exactly what kind of creature was going to come out, whether it be like this one creature that's like two animals connected by a tail, this weird kind of like alligator dog thing. There was some fun and play at work the way they created these characters. DreamWorks' last film, Rise of the Guardians, that had a better script and seemed to be able to place the characters better and develop all those characters a lot better, even though it was primary focused on Jack and then focused on the other characters. This film was kind of on Guy and Grub and Eep. It should have picked a certain character. It didn't go with the director's strengths, whereas usually his strengths is like Hiccup or Lilo and Stitch, you know, or Hiccup and his dad, you know, it's like, and mostly Hiccup really. And I think in this film there's just like too many characters they're trying to develop that it kind of just gets lost in the mix really. I wish the direction of this had been in Rise of the Guardians, because that script worked a lot better than this. I just feel like the script of this film just really didn't work very well at all. And I mean, that's kind of typical from DreamWorks, but the direction a lot better than usual for DreamWorks. And I think Chris Saunders is one of their better directors. He's like maybe their Brad Bird, if you will. But I hope he kind of works with his other directing partner again, or at least makes a film that's a lot better constructed than this thing. It's almost like Stoker, a weaker script that doesn't deserve the direction it has. So if you have seen The Croods and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.